Suave.
I've been in my bag for a while, I'm invincible. Story of a young boss, grinding shit get critical. Calling on my bros one time, cause you special. I had some hoop dreams of right rounds for my mentor. Every target that I shoot is on point like a pencil. Different road, changed relationships, I'm so sorry. Came up from the trenches and I made it, I say hardly. Now
BetOnline remains your number one source for all of your college basketball betting this season. Get analysis of every play, prop, and point at BetOnline. You'll find the latest odds, bracket contests, team matchups, and game trends at BetOnline. Updated odds for everything from live games, the conference championships, right through to the Final Four and championship game. BetOnline is your college basketball headquarters this season. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to sign up and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Be sure to use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, to receive your bonus. BetOnline.ag, where the game starts. Alrighty, guys, we are back with another episode of the What's in Your Bag podcast presented by BetOnline. As always, I'm your host, Andrew Robinson, and today we're joined by a special guest. But before I introduce my guest, man, y'all know we got to get the business out of the way. So if y'all watching this on YouTube, man, make sure you guys go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up. It goes a long way. You got to tune in on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, man. Make sure you guys are following the show. Giving us a 5-star rating. It goes a long way to getting this podcast out to the folks who need to hear it. That was my guy, Pull Up Tay, on the intro. One of the hottest up-and-coming artists out of the DMV, man. He's got a project coming out soon, so make sure you guys follow him, man. Stream his music. It's going to be him on the outro as well. You know what I'm saying? So that's the business. You know what I'm saying? That's the business. But, man, like I said in the beginning, man, we got a special guest, man. 2023 MEAC champ out of the Howard Bison, man. DMV native. A guy who has an incredible story, man. I know something. If you guys are tuning in to this, man, you guys are probably well aware of his story, man. But super honored to have my guy on the podcast. And after obviously making that tournament run, man, we got Jelani Williams on the podcast today, man. So Jelani, thank you for joining us today, bro.
Yeah, most definitely. Thanks for having me, bro. Appreciate you.
No doubt, man. First of all, man, congrats on a great season. You know what I'm saying? Howard obviously made the NCAA tournament for the first time since '92. So that's what, 31 years?
Yes, sir. Appreciate that. That was something we talked about. All year. So I'm glad we were able to get it done and make some history. I appreciate it.
No doubt, man. We're gonna jump into all that, you know what I'm saying, a little bit later in the podcast, man. But I gotta start off because I was doing a little bit of research, obviously doing my due diligence, you know what I'm saying, preparing for this podcast, man. And I heard that you from the Silver Springs, Tacoma Park area?
So I actually was born, yes, in Tacoma Park. I didn't really live there past like maybe 1 or 2 years old. Okay. But I was born in Tacoma Park. I moved to Upper Marlboro, shortly after, grew up between there and Bowie, and then moved to DC in middle school. So I've really been all over the DMV. But yeah, I was born in Tacoma Park, so yeah.
I was about to say, bro, because I'm from Tacoma Park, bro. Like, I literally went to Tacoma Park Middle School, Piney Branch Elementary School, played football for a little bit for the Rams. You know what I'm saying? I grew up literally like around the whole Tacoma Park area. Then I moved to White Oak. So I went to school out in Mo County at Springwood. You know what I'm saying? So when I heard that, I was like, hold on, man. That's crazy that we ain't crossed paths sooner, but it makes sense now since you moved. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I remember actually playing against you and your brother when y'all were at Springbrook my freshman year at Sidwell when we were summer league in that hot gym. I forget.
At High Point, the Rock League, or was it the Math League?
Yep, the Rock League.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nah, man, that's crazy, man. It's a small world, bro. This DMV basketball community is super small, man. So, man, it was cool, man. Obviously, hoop with you this summer, back at Howard, man, and you know what I'm saying, get some bumping. I'm definitely gonna have to tap back in, man, when I get back home for sure, man. But
yeah, sure.
That's dope, man. That's dope, man. But for folks listening to this, man, I know, you know what I'm saying, like I said, man, we got the MEAC champ on the podcast, so we're gonna go ahead and jump right into that, man. Howard won the MEAC for the first time in 31 years, man. Like, just talk me through what was going through your mind, man, being able to kind of get that done, win the chip. Obviously, Norfolk has won the last 2 years. When I was at Coppin my last year, it was the COVID year, so nobody technically won the MEAC, but I think Central was coming off winning it like 3 years in a row. You know what I'm saying? Before that, Hampton had their time. It was kind of running. So I mean, it's kind of refreshing to see a new team win the MEAC. You know what I'm saying? So what was it like for you guys? You know what I'm saying, to finally be able to break through and kind of get the monkey off the back, quote unquote.
Yeah, it was special. You know, we sacrificed everybody on our team. We had a rare group of guys. Like in today's day, like in college sports and in college basketball in particular, where you got, you know, the transfer portal and all the mobility and the leverage that players have, it's rare to find like a group of guys that will sacrifice for one another. A lot of people kind of go to a new situation, and if they don't have the role that they want, or they don't feel like they're having fun or they're being used the right way on the court, like a lot of guys will kind of check out and, you know, start looking at transfer portal options and things like that. But we had a rare group where, like, you know, we had guys that were capable. We probably had 6 or 7, 8 guys on our team that were capable of having a special night and going to get 20 in any given game, and everybody collectively sacrificed for, you know, a championship, and that's what it takes. So it was, you know, a really special moment because of the group that was able to do it. I think, you know, we have so much love for each other, and it's such a close-knit group, even only after just 1 year of us being together. It was just a really special moment for us, obviously, to make history and get to the March Madness and have that experience. But I think what made it even more special was the group of guys that was able to do it together.
Yeah, for sure, man. And we had Coach Blakeney, man, before there was ever the What's in Your Bag podcast. This is before the auto bid, man. We had a segment, me and my brother, called Coach's Corner. And I think Coach Blakeney was like maybe the second or third coach to come on there, man. So it's crazy to see just where he's come in, taking over the job. I think his first year, I think they might have won 2 games or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, 2 games, man, and seeing where it's been able to go in a small time. So definitely shout out to Coach Blakeney. If you're watching this, man, like I said, you definitely got a fan in me, man, and a fan of all facts for sure, man. But one thing that caught my eye, man, which is watching the emotions, you know, after you guys won, man, you burst into tears immediately after the game. You know what I'm saying? Like, just talk me through that moment, man. You obviously had 20 points in that game, an unreal performance, made the game-winning free throws. Like, what were the emotions that was going through your head, man, that just kind of overcame you at that time?
Yeah, you know, that day was just unbelievable. To be honest, like, you know, the first 2 games in the tournament, we won pretty comfortably, and I didn't have to do as much. And we knew going into Norfolk, you know, with them having a program that has a championship pedigree, like you said, winning the last 2, and, you know, them being the 3 seed and making their way to the championship, knocking off Central the night before, like, we knew it was going to be a tough game. And so we were prepared for that. But just for me personally, like, you know, and we can get into this a little bit later, but my journey through, you know, injuries and setbacks and missing a lot of time on the court, you know, going through losing last year at Penn, and then, you know, hitting the transfer portal and not feeling, you know, like there were a lot of schools that were really interested in me and wanted me. And just the culmination of all the work that came after, you know, that loss last year. For both teams, you know, my team at Penn, and then also Howard lost last year in the MEAC tournament in the first round. So all the work that we had put in, like, you know, everything that I felt like God had brought me through at that point, like, you know, with my injuries and all the mental struggles that I dealt with, like, it was just like I couldn't have tried to not cry. Like I couldn't have held it in if I tried. Like at first it was like just excitement and I'm running around and jumping, and then as soon as it sets in, like, dang, like we just did that. We made history, and like the way we did it, down 4, 16 seconds left, figure out a way to win. It was so overwhelming. And so I couldn't hold it in.
Yeah, that was wild, bro. I'm not gonna lie. When I was down 4, I was like, oh yeah, it's a wrap. You know what I'm saying? Like, so talk me through just that. Like, obviously the inbound, they turn it over, and you guys, you know, Dockery ends up hitting the 3. Like, just talk me through what's going through your mind, like in that time when you're like, all right, like, you know, God, again, like, I feel like you down 4 with 16 seconds, it's looking grim, but then it just flips so quick. So when you're on the court, like, what's going through your mind?
So it's weird. There's a string of plays at the end of the game that really just align. And I don't believe in coincidences, because I think, like, everything happens for a reason. But, and I might be a little long-winded here, but the last couple plays of the game, we foul Joe Bryant. We miss a shot down 2 with like 23 seconds left. We foul Joe Bryant. He goes to the line and makes 2. I think we call timeout and call a play. Come down. We don't execute the play. It's like they blow up a dribble handoff. We hit Shy in the post. Shy hits Doc. Doc hits a crazy 3. And it's, 1-point game. At that point, we call timeout. At that point, we're like, oh, we're here. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's a 1-point game. At this point, we're like, coach made some defensive subs because we had some foul problems, and we were just like, do not let them catch the ball. Like, make them call timeout, try to get a 5-second call, whatever you got to do. Do not let them catch the ball. And, obviously they had a little miscommunication with Joe trying to get open, and they end up throwing it out of bounds. And what's funny is my little brother at Sidwell, 2 years ago, they played Wilson in the city championship, and they were in a similar situation. I think they were down 3 or 4 with like 30 seconds left, something like that. And they score, and then Wilson has the ball, and Wilson turns it over and drops it out of bounds. And then they get it and hit a game winner to win the game. So as soon as Norfolk throws the ball out of bounds, I look up into the stands to find my little brother and my dad. And I'm like, oh, like I've seen this before. Yeah, like, I'm like, hold on, wait, like we're about to win this joint. So we drop a play for the inbound play. Norfolk does a great job defending it. And then I kind of just release into the backcourt at the half court line. He throws it to me. He tries to get open. He's not open. So I'm like, all right, it's 12 seconds left. Like, I got the ball. I got to make a play here. And I just was trying to get downhill. I felt like all game, especially like the last 8-10 minutes of the game, they were having trouble like keeping me out of the lane. And so for me, it was like get downhill, try and get a good look at it. If they converge, I was ready to pass and make a play for somebody else, but they fouled me and I was able to get to the line and make 2. And so then we get to stop at the end. It's just a crazy sequence. But yeah, it was a lot going through my head at that point, but mostly just like trying to make sure we stay together and stay composed and try to get like good shots at the end of the game.
That's crazy, man. That's a crazy full circle moment right there, man.
Yeah.
About it.
Yeah, no, it was wild. It was wild.
So man, I read something, man, that said when you at the line, you said a lullaby to yourself in your head. So I got a 2-part question. Number 1, what lullaby did you sing? And number 2, what in that moment made you be like, yo, I'm not gonna do no breathing exercises. I'm not gonna close my eyes. I'm gonna sing a lullaby to myself to calm me down. You gotta explain that to me.
Yeah. So when I was young, when I was in like middle school and high school, I was terrible at free throws. Like I couldn't make free throws to save my life. And my dad, he would take me out to, just local gym, community center park, whatever. And we would practice shooting free throws. And my dad didn't play basketball past high school, but he was a pretty good free throw shooter. That was like one thing that he was really good at. And so he taught me, his technique of like how to calm himself down at the line. And what he did was he sung a lullaby to himself that my grandmother used to sing to him when he was really young, that he ended up passing down to me and my brothers when we were 4 or 5 years old, when he was trying to put us to sleep. So it's something that he actually made up, or my grandmother made up, and he passed down to us. So it was like, and it's like a 2-part song. So it's really perfect for the free throw. Like I do my routine. I'm singing the first part of it, shoot it. They call timeout. And then it's like, all right, I get the ball back, start up the second part of the song and shoot it. And they both went in. I can sing it for you if you want.
Yeah. Let's hear it.
All right. So I step up to the line for the first one. I get the ball, take a deep breath. And this is how the lullaby goes. My dad used to sing, "Put your arms around me, buddy. Hold me tight. Cuddle up and cuddle up with all your might." And I shot the first one. They call timeout, whatever. I'm kind of like, if at this point I'm not even talking, like I'm so zoned in on, like I got to make one more. All I said in the huddle was like, "Don't foul." after I make this, don't foul. Like we gotta make sure we just get a good defensive possession. So I go back to the line. The crowd is going crazy. We're in Norfolk, obviously, at the scope. So the crowd is going crazy. And then I start singing the second part of the song as I'm going through my routine. It goes, "Oh, Jelani, I've never loved anyone like you." And I shot the second one. That goes in. We get back. They dribble the half court, call timeout, and then it's like, all right, we gotta just guard for 4 seconds and get a rebound, and we're going dancing. So, yeah, that was a special moment because like what's funny is after the game, my dad told me he was also singing the lullaby in the crowd. So it was just like so much of that day was like just poetic, and it was supposed to happen that way. And like, yeah, it was just special. And I think that's why I cried so hard after the game, because it was just like I couldn't believe it.
First of all, that's amazing, man. That's special. That's like destiny right there. Like no
yeah,
lie.
literally.
Sheesh. Now that's I feel like I got chills. Like man, because I feel like that moment is just to resort to that is crazy, bro. You know what I'm saying? I've never heard that before. So like,
yeah,
that's special, man. My question is before I go into the Kansas game. When you go to the huddle, I feel like it's like an unwritten rule as hoopers. Like when you go to the huddle and somebody shooting free throws, you don't say nothing to him. Like it's sort of like the football kicker. When he kick you, leave him, let him do his thing. So when you was on the bench, was people coming up to you saying shit to you, tapping you, or did they know to leave you alone?
So you're right about that being an unwritten rule. Apparently my teammates didn't know that was an unwritten rule. So when I'm literally, as soon as I get fouled, Shy is right next to me, and he's like, "Yo, this is what we came here for. Go make these free throws." And I'm like, I'm not listening to nobody. Like for me, it's like, I know I got to make these 2 free throws. Like, and Doc comes up behind me, and he's like, "Yo, like you got it. Like you got it. Let's go win." And like, and I think E said something to me while we were on the bench, and I'm like, I heard it, but I'm like, it's not even crossing my head that like we need these to win. I'm just like, I'm gonna calm myself down. We're gonna make these 2 free throws. But no, my teammates definitely said something to me about it.
Yeah, fellas, come on now. Y'all gotta know that. Y'all gotta know that, man. You leave him be. Leave him be, man. You know what I'm saying? So if there's any hooper listening to this, man, don't be talking to your teammates when you know what I'm saying, about to go lock in for the last free throw, man. We don't, you know what I'm saying? We know. He already know what he gotta do. You know what I'm saying? Nah, man. So going on to that Kansas game, man. I mean, that first half, y'all was in the game. You know what I'm saying? Like y'all was hanging right with them until probably I'd say the last 2 or 3 minutes of the first half, they kind of got a little bit of a lead. And then in the second half, obviously they blew the game open. But what would you say changed that halftime? Like, what do you think was the biggest difference, like in that game, that changed the game from the first half to the second half?
Yeah, I think we talked about all week their ability to play in transition. They're an unbelievable transition team. Is something that, Bill Self has done since he's been at Kansas. And I think, in that stretch at the end of so we call it the middle 8, which is the last 4 minutes of the first half and the first 4 minutes of the second half. About 75% of the time, if you can win the middle 8, you can win the game.
Yep.
And so we're playing them close, 15 minutes into the game. I think it was a tie game or we were up 1 or 2. And we had a couple live ball turnovers that allowed them to get out and get easy shots and easy dunks, breakaways. And they were allowed to stretch it out in the first half of the middle 8. And then the second half of the middle 8, when we came out, we were kind of talking about the live ball turnovers, and we did a better job of it in the second half, but we were just trading buckets. We couldn't get stops at that point in the game. And, at that point, it was like sort of their athleticism was able to kind of take over, and they were able to get some easier looks in transition. We had a couple costly turnovers, as we were trying to cut into the lead as well. So they were really good at capitalizing on any mistakes that we made. And so in those type of games, when you're trying to pull off an upset like that, like there's a very slim margin for error. And we just didn't do a good enough job of, keeping our margin of error low. And so it was a learning experience for everybody. I think, obviously Howard not being there in 31 years, I was the only player on our team who actually had any NCAA tournament experience. So being able to get that experience for the young guys, for Coach Blakeney, his first time as a head coach, and the coaching staff as well. Like, I think everybody learned a lot from it, and hopefully we're poised now to continue to make runs to the NCAA tournament.
For sure. What do you take away just from that matchup against Kansas? Obviously, it's a crazy opportunity in the first place to be able to play in a game of that magnitude, defending national champions. When you look back on the game, man, just what will you take away from that experience?
I think the biggest thing, as I'm watching some of these other games in March Madness, particularly games like Princeton beating Arizona and getting to the Sweet 16, and Fairleigh Dickinson obviously beating Purdue and making noise as a 16th seed. Like, I think the one thing that I recognize the most is like you can't have any like reservations about playing, and you have to have a singular focus and a singular belief about what it is that you have to do, and you have to stick to that all game. I feel like when we played, obviously we played them well at the beginning, and then as the lead started they created a little bit of separation. Instead of doubling down on what we were doing, we kind of tried to get it all back in one play. We started taking shots that weren't characteristic of us. We tried to hit home run plays. We were gambling for steals, trying to just create easy offense. And Kansas is one of those teams that just capitalizes on everything. So I think, the biggest thing I learned is like just to remain true to like what you're doing as a team and what you've done all year and your identity, regardless of the score, regardless of what, the game situation is, because at the end of the day, it's a game of runs. So if you stay consistent with what you do, eventually you'll go on your run and, have a chance to get back in the game. So I think that was something that we could have done better. And then also just embracing the moment. Like, I think we were there, we were with them for 15 minutes and we kind of like lost steam at the end of the first half. And like, we didn't, instead of like embracing it, we kind of like, we're like, damn, like, all right, I don't know if that might be it. You know what I mean? And obviously we didn't stop playing, but there was just a level of like, we felt a little bit deflated, I think, at halftime in the locker room. And that kind of carried over a little bit into the second half.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think you mentioned something that, I also was kind of thinking the same thing when you mentioned, Princeton making it to the Sweet 16, and you mentioned FDU beating Purdue and FAU is in the Sweet 16. Man, you got three
Right.
programs, that were able to kind of get wins and advance in the tournament. My question to you is like, what do you think that says about just the state of college basketball? You know what I'm saying? Because even if you look at just the tournament the past couple of years, man, Oral Roberts made a Sweet 16. Last year St. Peter's for the MEAC made it all the way to the Elite Eight. Like, I feel like from my perspective, I feel like the gap is closing, man. Like, even if you look at just the overall landscape, UNC didn't make the tournament. Duke is out of there, Kansas is out of there, Indiana is out of there. Like, a lot of these blue blood programs, Kentucky, that we're used to seeing, they lost. And if you got teams, Alabama is the number one team in the country, and they're a football school. I just feel like overall, the landscape is changing. Like we mentioned, you guys were hanging with Kansas for the first 15 minutes of the game. Like, what do you think that says just about the state of college basketball, man, and the fact that, we're getting to a tournament and you're seeing so many teams advance, farther and farther?
Yeah, definitely. I think, I was listening to some of like the ESPN analysts and stuff talking leading up to the tournament, as everybody's picking their upsets and whatever. And everybody kept talking about the parity in college basketball this year and how this is the closest that it's been all year, where there's no clear like front runner, there's no clear favorite. I think COVID has a lot to do with it. I think, the transfer portal rules being changed where guys don't have to sit out. There's less incentive to stay where you're at and not transfer. And yet that's great for players because we have more freedom and, sometimes a change is necessary and you have to find the best situation for yourself. But I think a lot of coaches, especially mid-major coaches, have like taken advantage of that, being able to go get older guys like myself that can help lead a group, that can keep, a group stabilized over the course of a game. Going to get guys that have maybe played at the higher level that didn't, pan out the way they wanted to now, come get a fresh start and play at what you might call a lower level and be able to put their talent on display when they were once, capable of playing at that same level. So I think, being able to have older guys, post-COVID where everybody has an extra year and then also being able to take advantage of the transfer portal and not have to wait for guys to be able to matriculate into the program. It gives, coaches sort of a level playing field in terms of being able to put together teams that can compete with, the blue bloods and the higher major programs who are mostly filled with freshmen and sophomores. So it definitely gives, just a different look and an ability to compete with, really anybody in the country.
So last question I'll have, man, before we get into the, your story and your journey with the injuries and everything like that. Last question on the tournament. I always wonder, and this is something I was actually talking about one of my group chats like a couple of days ago. Previously, like when MEAC teams get into the tournament, they get put in that 16 seed and they get put in the playing game. So we're in the first four and Dayton, and you might face a team from the Southland or the SWAC or something like that. You guys got an opportunity to play, obviously, Kansas in that first game. But it's kind of a catch-22 because on the one hand, it's like, all right, well, if we're in the play-in, maybe we could have got a win in the NCAA tournament and, kind of hoorah, we won a game and kind of move on, get that survival in advance feeling. But on the other hand, you guys got an opportunity to play Kansas, and a lot of teams, you might get to the play-in and lose to North Dakota State or something like that, and then you don't even get the opportunity to have that, real moment to pull off upset like FDU did.
Right.
Somebody who obviously is in that position, like, what do you think you would rather have? I wasn't fortunate enough to make it to the NCAA tournament, you know what I'm saying? So I feel like for somebody who kind of was in that position, like, how do you kind of view that debate?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, the one thing that I'll say is after we won the MEAC and we were talking about, when we got back to DC, we were like, all right, we don't know if we're going to have to play Tuesday and then Thursday, or we'll be able to wait till Thursday or play Friday. Like, so there was a lot of uncertainty in that. I think, coming off, we played our championship game on a Saturday. I think personally, like, I wouldn't have wanted to play on Tuesday. Just, for my own, like, my body, I need more time to recover in between games so that I can play, at the level that I want to play at. Just from a health standpoint, but there is something to be said about momentum. And, being with our program and our team in particular, where nobody had real NCAA tournament experience, getting a chance to play in a first four game and maybe and win that game and feel more confident and comfortable on that stage where we don't have any jitters, we don't feel nervous about performance or anything like that, and then being able to lock in on the next game, I think would have helped. So I don't know. For me personally, I would rather just get right to it and play whoever we got to play, and give our best shot in that game. But I think for the group and the collective, it might have been good for us to get a first four game and get a win and build some steam heading into Kansas. So that we could have eliminated maybe some of the jitters or some of the wow factor of like being able to say like, oh man, we're really here. So yeah, I think and that's a cop out because I'm giving you both answers, but it's really dependent on, I guess, the individual and also the group.
Right. That's a good answer though. That's a good answer. I think that's really good perspective. So kind of changing the gears a little bit, man. Obviously, I feel like for the people who might be watching this, you guys are probably aware of the story, but for people who aren't and maybe hearing it for the first time, man, obviously, you have quite the story. Obviously, going through, 3 ACL injuries almost back to back to back. Obviously, your senior year at Sitwell and then your sophomore and junior year at UPenn. Like, throughout that time, you basically missed 4 consecutive years essentially of basketball, man. Like, because you obviously compounded that with the COVID year that happened right after that. Like,
right.
I can't even imagine myself as a hooper being able to go through that and come back from that. Like, my question to you, like, is, and it may seem like this, I guess, blunt, but like, I think it's a real question. Like, why didn't you just quit? Like, why didn't you give up basketball after the third one? Like, it's like most people, you get that third one, it's like, all right, man, like, it's been a hell of a ride. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, why didn't you just not call it a career, but all right, man, I'm gonna go into things outside of basketball, man. Like, what made you keep going?
That's a deep question. I think the best way to describe it without getting too long-winded is I made mistakes. I made mistakes in my first 2 recoveries that ended up where I was re-injured my third time. And I knew the mistakes that I made. And I knew that, I didn't do everything that I needed to do to get back healthy because I was dealing with my own mental stuff. I was dealing with emotional and spiritual, just craziness that I wasn't showing in the public or around the people that I was around. But I knew that I didn't put my best foot forward in terms of attacking, the obstacles that had been placed in front of me. And so when the third one happened, I knew it was coming, if that makes sense. Like, I started playing too early after my second one. My body hadn't had enough time to heal. I didn't do enough rehab and strengthening to where I was ready to play. But I was so frustrated with the process that I just wanted to start playing again. Right. And when I tore it the third time, like, I was like, yep, there it is. And like, it was kind of like, I definitely thought about quitting, for a couple of days. And I went home and I talked to my doctor. And I was just like, damn, like, if that is going to be the way I go out, like, I wasn't cool with saying like, I went out because I didn't do it right. You know what I mean? Like, it would be one thing if I did everything right and I did the rehab process and I took care of my mental health and I like ate healthy and I did everything possible for me to get back to be healthy and play, and I got hurt again. Then it's like, all right, like, this is not for me. This is something that, I'm not supposed to be doing. This is a sign for me to move on. But, in my heart of hearts, I knew that I didn't do it the way that it should have been done. And it was like, if I'm going to do this again, I'm going to do it 100% the right way. I'm going to invest everything I have into this last process, and let the chips fall where they may. And I'm so glad I did because, I don't get to where I'm at right now, basketball wise, but also just as a person, as, who I am and how I see the world now. Like, that doesn't happen without me going through all that stuff. So I think that's the short-winded, long-winded answer to that question.
Nah, I think that's a great answer, man. And kind of to provide context, because again, like, obviously your story was well covered, but for the folks that may be listening to this kind of for the first time, I'll kind of give the folks a little bit of a recap, I guess. So kind of context. So obviously you go into your senior year at Sewell. You guys are one of the best teams in the area. You tear your ACL in December, right after Christmas. Fast forward that, you're rehabbing. So kind of, getting back on the court freshman year, I'm going to Penn. All right, I'm a rehab and I'm coming back my sophomore year and I'm killing it. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, then you say, I think this was the Martha's Vineyard year when you say you went to Martha's Vineyard hooping in the summer, and then boom, it goes again. You're like, damn, like right when I was about to get back, and this the other one, this the right ACL this time.
Yep.
And then you're like, all right, you know what, I'm down bad. You know what I'm saying? I kind of went going through a lot of different things, and then come back again and tear your third one in the workout your junior year before your junior year. So just people listening, man, it's not like this is happening at random times. This is literally like consecutively, before bro could even get back on the court. You know what I'm saying? Like, so as somebody who, as a hooper myself, man, like knock on wood, I've never experienced an injury like that, man. But I can see how that could kind of get you down. And you mentioned in the interviews past, man, like after you tore it that second time, like it was kind of the worst moment of your life. You mentioned you were depressed, like you didn't really know where to go. You didn't really have any other outlets at that time outside of basketball. There may be people listening to this though who might say maybe they've never experienced an injury. I know people who literally never broken a thumb before. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what? Like, all right, you do the rehab, you come back. You may not think that it's a big deal for you to say something like, "Oh, I was depressed," or "It was the worst time of my life." You know what I'm saying? So my question to you is like, what about that time like made it so hard? And like maybe for somebody who has never experienced an injury or has never been in a place like that, what about that made it so difficult to where you really just kind of checked out mentally?
Yeah, I think part of it was the timing. So the first thing is so I tear my ACL my senior year in high school. That's the first one. And I take the full calendar year to get healthy. I get cleared to play about halfway through my freshman season, but we're on a roll. I don't want to mess that up. I don't want to come in and be the freshman that screws up the championship run.
Right.
So I sit back and I learn. I continue to get healthy. I get practice reps. You know, when you're coming into college, you learn the system and all those things. And I started to figure out, okay, what do I have to do to be successful next year? Because we're coming off a tournament appearance. You know, I'm supposed to be the guy that steps in and we're losing a senior point guard. I'm supposed to be the guy that steps in and is that, you know, that next guard in line. How am I ready for that? So I worked my tail off that summer, like harder than I ever worked ever. I'm healthy, shooting hundreds of shots a day, lifting in the best shape of my life. I'm playing pickup multiple times a week. I'm killing, like I'm feeling 120%. Like we went to Italy for our foreign trip at the end of my freshman year, and I had a pretty good showing out there. Like I was, you know, our coach has said this a few times, and I don't know if I agree with him, but he said that I was our best player on that trip, you know, as a freshman. So that's kind of gives you an idea of what level I was playing at and where I was ready to take it at the end of my freshman year. And so all of that work that I put in to get to being on vacation and, you know, I'm around the people that I love the most in my favorite place in the world, around my family, like having fun at a court that I grew up playing at my entire life in the summers, doing a charity game for a camp that I was a part of as a 5, 6, 7-year-old. And that is the moment that I tear my other ACL. Was just like, I couldn't believe, I just like in shock. Like I was like, there's no way that's how it happens. You know what I mean? Right. And so when I got back home and I went to my surgeon and they did the MRIs and he was like, yeah, like, you know, you tore your other ACL, you tore your meniscus, you're going to have to get surgery. And we're going to have to do this all over again. I was just like, there's no way. Like there's no chance that I'm like, and then mentally I didn't deal with what I needed to deal with mentally. So it was like, I was kind of just eating my emotions and eating all my thoughts and feelings and like trying to just approach it with like a brave face instead of like actually dealing with everything and like approaching it the right way. And it was just, I was in a fucking dark place, excuse my language, but I was in a dark place. And so, yeah, that year was tough for me for sure.
Yeah. That's real, bro. And I feel like, you know, like I said, man, I can't even imagine going through that, man. So I feel like the hooper in me can relate to it, but I know there's a lot of people out there who just like, you know, oh, it's an injury, get over it type of thing, you know.
Right.
So kind of doing more research, you know, you said that after that third ACL injury, you know, you kind of just, you know, you threw the knee brace, you were fed up, you kind of were expecting it to happen, you know what I'm saying? Not expecting it, but you weren't surprised by it type of thing.
Yeah.
And you mentioned, obviously, you withdrew from school for that first semester of your junior year, you go back home. And that was kind of the reality check standpoint where things changed. And, you know, you said that was the first time you ever decided to like seek professional help and actually go to therapy, you know, and kind of deal with those emotions that you mentioned, you know, just now that you didn't really know how to deal with the process. Like, and so the first question I had for you was like, what made you say like, all right, like I need to seek professional help, man? Because obviously, as you know, number one, as an athlete, number two, you know, as a black man, I feel like we always try to say, oh, I don't need therapy. I'm gonna deal with it myself. You know what I'm saying? So like, I guess what was that moment for you where you were like, nah, like I need help. You know, I need to be able to kind of get professional help to kind of deal with my emotions.
Yeah, I think that was actually like the first thing that I told my parents when they called me. You know, when I get re-injured, they called me the next day. You know, I was like, I'm coming home. It was in the summer, so I was like, I'm coming home anyway for the summer, and then we'll figure out what we're gonna do from here. But like that was like the first thing that I said. It was like they were like, "What do you need? We want to support you or whatever." And I was like, "I got to go talk to somebody." And the biggest thing was like you said, as athletes and as black men, like a lot of times when we see setbacks, because we're so used to obstacles, the people around you will just, you know, say, chin up, you know what I mean? Or like my dad, he would say, drop your tears and attack the next thing, right? So when I tore it the first time, it was like, all right, high school career over, drop your tears for whatever, 10 minutes, whatever, and then move on to the next thing, which was the rehab and still trying to lead this team from the bench to a championship. when it happened the second time, it was the same thing. It was like, damn, like that sucks. I know it sucks. But you know, you did it once, you can do it again. Let's move.
Right.
And so that was kind of like the same approach that I took, because the first time it worked out. Like I got healthy, I was playing well. I felt like I just had bad luck. So I was like, all right, if I do it the same way again, like I should be good. But there was just a period of time during that second one where I couldn't get myself to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know why at the time. Like I couldn't get myself to get up and go to PT. I was skipping days. I wasn't going to practice. I was getting skinny. I wasn't lifting. Like I had no motivation to do it. And I didn't know why. I was like, you know, I wasn't necessarily like crying and stuff every day. I was just like, I don't feel like doing that today. Like I'm tired of rehab. And that is actually depression. Like I didn't know that at the time, but the diagnosis that I got later in therapy was like, that is, you know, lack of motivation, isolation, like all those things are symptoms of, you know, situational depression, where something bad happens in your life and you don't know how to deal with it. So you shut everything out and kind of just do stuff on your own. And so when I got to the third one, it was like, I can't do it the way I just did it. And I knew that part of it. It was like, I can't do it with the same way that I just felt doing it the last year. It was like, I didn't feel motivated to do it. And if I'm going to do it, I have to have some motivation. So I need to go figure out why I'm not motivated.
Right.
And so I started to search for different therapists. A couple of my physical therapists were like, hey, I got, you know, a sports PT that works with, you know, the nationals and different stuff like that. And that actually ended up being one of my friends from elementary school, Reggie Gardner. He's also a DMV guy.
Yep.
Went to DeMatha, played at Central, and then played at Delaware. You know, went to March Madness a couple times. So shout out Red. But he plugged me in with, you know, his sports psychologist, his therapist that, you know, he had worked with, Dr. Joyce Woods. She's located in Maryland. And, you know, I found her and went to go try her out and do a session with her. And dude, like literally she changed my life. Like that 3-month span of like finding out myself and figuring out myself outside of basketball and understanding, you know, all the things that I had gone through in life that had led me to that point, and figuring out how to deal with that and move past it and use it as fuel. Like I'm not here without doing that. And that's not a cliche. Like that is a fact. Like I would be somewhere working a desk job, like, you know, with my degree somewhere, like probably nothing to do with basketball. I wanted nothing to do with basketball at that point in my life. And like, you know, me going to her and doing all the other stuff that I did over that semester, like that semester literally changed my life.
Yeah, bro. I mean, first and foremost, I just want to applaud you for being able to do that. You know what I'm saying? And having the emotional maturity to be able to say like, hey, like I need some help. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like a lot of us don't do that. You know, and we'll dig ourselves into a hole where we make regrettable decisions before we understand like, damn, I got to deal with my emotions. You know what I'm saying? So first of all, hats off to you for that, man, because I think that's profound. You know, but I want to also kind of sit here for a little bit before we move on, man, and just talk about it. Because you said, obviously, you know, going to therapy changed your life, you know, and it was one of the best decisions you ever made. Like, what specifically about, you know, going to therapy, you know, made it so positive or worked so well for you, man? For the people out there that might be kind of on the fence, should I go to therapy? Like, you know, I don't really know if it actually works. You know, I could just talk to my brother about it. I could talk to my homie about it. Why do I need to go to a therapist? Like, you know, what things actually came out of it that you think were so groundbreaking for you, you know, to be able to, you know, change your life, you know, as you said?
Yeah. So part of my struggles were, you know, before I went to therapy, part of my struggles were like when people would check in with me. And I think this has to do a lot with how we're raised as Black men and athletes. When people would check in with me and ask me how I was doing, I'm always good. Like there's no, I'm good. The knee's all right. We're getting there, you know, still X amount of months out, but I'm good. Like I'm getting through it. We're doing whatever. And the reality of it was I wasn't good. But me being who I am and how I was raised, and, you know, one thing I learned about myself in therapy is that I'm a people pleaser and that I project what I want people to believe about me. Is that you know, part of that time period for me was like, I don't want to dump my stuff on anybody else. Everybody has their own issues. Everybody deals with their own stuff in their own way. And so like me dumping my stuff on my mom or my dad or my brothers or my teammates who are dealing with their own issues, like it didn't feel fair to me. So I just bottled everything. And so like for me, being able to go to therapy and like say like this is where I'm supposed to dump all my stuff, and not to say that therapists don't have their own problems, but they're trained in helping you work through your stuff, and it's their job to help you sort through your thoughts, sort through your emotions, understand why you're feeling the way you're feeling, give you tools to combat some of the thoughts that you're having. And so like it was just a completely different experience from just venting to, you know, somebody. You know what I mean? That's a whole different thing than saying like, I want to go talk to someone who is going to give me the tools necessary to move forward and to attack this, whatever obstacle, whatever next stage of my life is, with like a clear mind and a clear like heart and a clear motivation. Like that was the entire difference for me. So it wasn't like and everybody's different. It wasn't like a, you know, a perfect storm of like things that she said to me or like things that she gave me to work through, whatever it was. But it was like the fact that I felt like I was actually able to release everything and not feel guilty about it and get honest feedback about life. And like, she wasn't always like nice to me. She wasn't like, you know what I mean? Like she was like, okay, this is what you're doing right here is wrong. And that's part of why you're dealing with what you're dealing with. And this is something that we have to look out for in your life moving forward. And I appreciate her for that, because you need somebody that's going to be real with you and like tell you, you know, why you're feeling the way you're feeling and the things that you're doing that are putting you in this position. So it was just like a whole other worldly like experience, like something that I hadn't even thought of or experienced in any situation. And so I was just so grateful and I felt so refreshed, you know, after just even just a month of working with her. Like, you know, it really just gave me a new outlook on life.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. I think, you know, the one thing that's important to note in this conversation is that, you know, therapy is a two-way street, right? You can't just go to therapy and be like, oh, you know, I don't want to be here. Like you have to be willing to, number one, be open to release those kind of things, but also, like you said, be open to receiving feedback and sometimes criticism and things like that, you know? So if there's anybody out here that's listening to this and that's, you know, kind of contemplating going to therapy, man, just like I said, man, go into it with an open mind, you know, go into it, you know, being willing to, like Jelani said, man, being able to dump freely. But I think, and first and foremost, man, you got to find somebody that makes you feel comfortable and
100%.
safe space, you know, because if you don't feel comfortable and if it's not a safe space to be able to do those type of things, it's not going to work, you know? So, you know, I hope that for people who are listening to this, you know, you got to take that away, man. But you said one thing that I thought was profound and was interesting, man, because you said that whenever somebody would ask you a question, you always say, I'm good, or like, you know, the knee's going good. I feel like as human beings, man, it's like an auto response. It's like you got the iPhone and you driving and they send an auto reply. Like whenever somebody asks you, you always say, I'm good, or how's this? Oh, it's cool. You know, I'm just going with the flow. You know, that's like an automatic response. And, you know, obviously John Morant has been in the media a lot lately, and there was a clip of him that kind of went viral. I think he was doing an interview with, I think it was Taylor Rooks, but it might have been somebody else. And he literally said the exact same thing. Like, he's like, yo, basically, they was like, you know, whenever somebody asks me if I'm good, I always say I'm good because what they're going to do if I'm not. Like, I just,
Right.
you know, any type of thing. And I just wanted to ask you your opinion, man. Like, what do you think we can do to kind of, I guess, put an end to that, man? Because obviously we see what's kind of transpired with John Morant, obviously not being able to deal with his emotions, and now you got the gun stuff going on, and you know you have to kind of portray this image, right? So you can see what can happen if you don't deal with your emotions properly and just bottle them up, right? So what do you think we can do to kind of, I guess, be okay with letting people know how we're doing and not just kind of putting in the auto response, man? Because I think so many of us do that every day. I'm guilty of it, even myself. Like,
Right.
so it's hard though, man. But I think so many of us do it.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, you know, it's interesting. Like, I still believe in not dumping my stuff at people's doorstep. Like, I still believe in that, despite having gone through therapy and like understanding why it's not healthy to just say I'm good. Like, I still believe that everybody goes through their own stuff. And I think at the end of the day, it comes down to a comfort thing, right? Like if the average person that you're running by, asks you, oh, how you doing? Da, 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 like, I'm cool. Like, that's a normal thing.
Right.
But you have to have people that are around you that you trust and are comfortable with enough to say, I'm struggling with whatever it is. And you move from there, where maybe they advise you to get some help, or maybe they have some advice because they've been through a similar situation. And for me, that kind of turned into my parents. I didn't realize, for all those years, I didn't want to kind of tell my parents exactly what I was dealing with and what I was thinking about, because it's like, my parents sacrificed so much for me to be at Penn and to be a college basketball player. And like, I'm a college student. Like, I'm chilling for real. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't have bills. I don't have kids to look after. I don't have like all the other things that, real adults have to live with. But the reality of it is, you have to understand the people that are truly around to help you and are truly interested in how you're doing. And once you find those people and you're comfortable with telling those people how you're doing and, releasing it however else you will, then it's okay to tell everybody else that you're okay. You know what I mean? Because not everybody needs to know everything that you're going through. So part of it is like figuring out just who you're comfortable with actually opening up to and doing that, because, you can be comfortable with somebody and still hold everything in. And then the other part of it is understanding that when you do need help, like, go get help. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, there's plenty of people out here that are, whose job it is to help you. You know what I mean? So like, there's no shame in like wanting to utilize that service. That's a normal thing. And that's like, it's a benefit.
Right. That's a gem. That's a gem, man. And I feel like you literally, I couldn't have said it better myself, man. You know what I'm saying? So I think, for guys out there that's listening, man, find a circle, whether it's a friend group, whether it's your parents, like Jelani said, whether it's a church group, whatever you have, like I said, man, wherever you feel safe, man, and you have a group of people that you can kind of, run to and that care about you and that love you, now aren't going to judge you, man. Check in, check in and don't feel like you're not a burden to anybody. Trust me. You know what I'm saying? So I think that was perfectly said, man. Kind of moving on a little bit, man, like kind of, obviously you were out for 1,789 days, man, and you finally make that comeback. You know what I'm saying? You at Penn. I believe you said your first game was at Florida State. You know what I'm saying? So what's going through your mind, man, when you in the locker room? You see that Williams jersey. You putting on your shoes, you lacing them up. You go on the warm-ups for the first time. Like, what's going through your brain, like coming back on the court after everything you've been through the last 4 years?
Man, I was like, what's crazy is everybody asked me this. The honest answer is I was like a shell of myself. I literally was like walking. It was like an outer body experience. Like, I waited all this time to play, and we're opening up the season at Florida State, number 20 in the country, like hostile environment. Like, I was like, what the hell is going on? Like, you know what I mean? Like there's no way that I'm actually here living this experience right now. And like, just like, I couldn't believe it. Like, I was like, damn, like, and I spent, obviously the morning being grateful and like, praying. That's something I do every, like my pregame routine in the morning. I wake up, I pray, listen to some gospel music. And then I kind of go through my routine of like getting treatment and then starting to listen to like my more, hype music and stuff like that. But when we got to the arena, I was just like, yo, like, this is pretty wild. Like my dad was there, my aunt, my little brother, and I'm just looking around like, damn, like we really play these dudes today. Like, I didn't play great. I played okay. But like, I was just grateful, and like, I couldn't really like put anything into words. Like, I feel like if I was really there, what was weird to me was that I didn't cry before the game. Like, there wasn't like a overflow of like emotion of like, damn, like we went through it and we played and da. I actually didn't cry and like really digest everything until we were leaving Florida and we were in the airport. We were in a layover in the airport in Atlanta. And I like walked away from our gate because we had like an hour before the flight. I like walked away from our gate and just went and sat in like a corner and like just like dropped like tears of joy for probably 10, 15 minutes. And I was like, wow, like, you know, like I did that. Like I didn't like, you know what I mean? Like this is not a dream. I like pinched myself at that point. Like I really played yesterday. Like I'm entering a season for the first time in 5 years. Like it was special. But if I'm being honest, in the moment of the game, especially being a captain as a senior, like I was trying to keep like a level of composure and calmness.
Yeah.
But I could not believe it. I was like, I was walking on clouds. I couldn't, you know. So
yeah, for sure. So I got two more questions, man, before we kind of change topics off the injury.
yeah,
I want you to be honest, man. Pretend there's no cameras here. Pretend it's me and you. We in Burr after the runs, right?
yeah, got you.
So looking back on everything you've been through, right? The 3 ACL tears, the mental battles that you went, the depression, all that type of stuff, right? Do you wish that you never went through it? If you could just be like, you know what, like I wish I could just have a smooth college career and play my 4 years and you know, ride on to the sunset. Or looking back, are you kind of like, you know what, like, I'm grateful for the path that I took because it kind of made me a better man. I feel like there's no, I guess, real correct answer here. Like, you know what I'm saying? I thought most people would be like, oh yeah, you know, it made me a better person. I'm glad you know what I'm saying? But I want you to be honest. Like, how do you wish you wouldn't have went through it? Or do you feel like, you know, you're grateful for the path that you took?
Um, for a while, like while I was in it, I was like, I hate this. Why is this happening to me? Even after, like when I got back and I didn't feel like I didn't have my timing. I was like, you know, all last year I was like dealing with little ticky tack injuries and like knee soreness and stuff. And I was like, damn, like, you know, why couldn't I just went through what I went through or not went through what I went through and had normal health and been able to see how far I could take basketball and like, you know what I mean? So for a while, like I hated what happened to me and what I went through. And it's weird, like, you know, now having been through what I've been through and like the responses that I've gotten from the media coverage and, you know, people talking to me about my journey and my injuries and stuff and people reaching out to me for advice and or just to say how much they appreciate my story. Like, you know, I might not have been an NBA player coming out of high school. Like, you know, I thought I was, but I might not have been an NBA player or a professional basketball player. That might not have been in the cards for me. But, you know, what I'm able to do now in terms of motivating people and like serving as an example of like perseverance and being able to give tips to people who are going through what I'm going through and like, you know, helping people feel less lonely because injuries are a really lonely process and the rehab recovery process is a really lonely process. And like the stuff that I'm able to do now with my story, and the way that I look at life now, having taken away 5 years from basketball, which is all I thought about before my injuries, and being able to leave from a different perspective. Like, I don't think that I get what I got this year without becoming the person who I am now, which doesn't happen without what I went through. And that's an honest answer. Like, while I was going through it, I hated it, but I couldn't, now that I'm here, I couldn't see it going any other way. And that's crazy to say, but like, you know, that's the truth.
Yeah, that's real. That's real, man. So kind of just bringing it all full circle, man. Like, obviously we spent, you know, last probably 30 minutes talking about the whole journey, right? Rehabbing and going to therapy and bringing it back full circle. You know, we talked about already like just that moment, right? Of, you know, you just bust down the tears after you guys won the championship, man. Like, when you look back on everything you've been through, right? The fact that you came out on top, you know, NCAA tournament, MEAC champ, 20 points in the title game, made the game winning free throws. Like, it's really like a Disney movie type of story, like for real. Like, that's like some Disney shit. Like, Hollywood for real should cover this story.
Yeah.
Like, how do you look back, man, on just on the last 5 years or 6 years, what was it, 2016 that you tore your ACL? The last 7 years, really, just, given where you started, given where you are now, how will you reflect on the last, 7 years of your life, especially now, being kind of at like, on this high of, where you a champ, you know what I'm saying? How will you reflect back on the road that you've taken?
Well, one, I'm gonna make that movie. We're gonna make that movie. So any any media companies out there, whoever, production companies, whatever that wanna lock in with me, hit me up. We're gonna make that movie. But I think, I get asked this question a lot. I think looking back on my 6-7 year stretch of like, all the ups and downs and the in-betweens, I think there's like a part of everybody's life where they go through adversity. There's no escaping that. Like life, there are stretches of adversity. Mine was probably longer than, the average person, but mine was also at a very early age, relative. Some people are smooth sailing until they hit 40, and then they go through a divorce and like have real adversity in their life and they don't know how to deal with it. Right. For me, like my first injury coming at 18 years old, and that stretching until I'm 22 years old and having to figure out ways to deal with everything that happens over the course of adversity, all the outside noise, all the internal noise. Like, I think I'm grateful for being able to experience that at a young age. And I'm grateful for being able to turn that into something positive, because not everybody, a lot of people take their losses and they learn from it and they don't get to flip it into anything. I think for me, like I was able to flip it into this where now I'm a champion. I got a story to tell that can motivate the next, ACL tear or the next person who goes through a major injury. And I just feel like that is worth it. Like that is worth it. And so the message that I give to anybody who like is in the beginning part of their adversity, or hits some adversity for the first time, or feels like they're continuing to hit adversity, is like, in one way or another, if you stay true to who you are and what you have to do to put yourself in the best position for success, it ends up being worth it. And that might not be, everybody might not see how it ends up being worth it, because not everybody gets the Disney movie ending. But eventually it's worth it to you because you knew what you went through to get to where you're at. And so, in life, I just think like my message to people is like, take everything with take everything that happens with like a grain of salt, and like do what you got to do to make sure that you're okay. But like at the end of the day, like that's just life. Like if you don't go through life without experiencing like adversity and like getting to have those low points, like you didn't do it right. Like you didn't put yourself in enough situations where you could fail, to where you learn how to succeed and fight through failure. Like that's a huge part of life. And like the earlier you learn that lesson, like the better off you are later on in life. So that's a long-winded answer, but like I just feel like very grateful for the timing of it all, as terrible as it was in the moment. Like the timing of it all, looking back on it, was like, damn, like, I feel like everything is in front of me now. So
everything is in front of me now. I said, Jim, I think that's the perfect way to kind of put a bow on it. You know what I'm saying? Before some more lighthearted stuff, man. But I gotta ask one question, before we switch gears a little bit. Technically you got about 3 years left. You know what I'm saying? You got a bunch of eligibility. Like, are you making your return next year? Like, you going pro? Like, what's the vibe? You know what I'm saying? You return to ACL. Like, what's next for you?
Yeah. Man, you put me on the spot. I'm still figuring it out. I think I still have another year eligibility. I enjoyed myself at Howard a lot. Like I've had fun playing basketball here for like the first time in like a really long time. And we were able to accomplish something special and do something that, you know, a small percentage of kids that even play college basketball, which is a small percentage of kids that play basketball in general, are able to do, which is get to the March Madness tournament. We have everybody, for the most part, returning next year. And so I just have things to think about. I'm going to be 25 next year. I got to figure out, you know, what is most important for me in my life moving forward. But I'm keeping all my options open right now. I'm not sure what is next. You know, I'm meeting with coach and my parents over the next couple of days. So, you know, maybe by the time this gets out, we'll have, you know, some sort of decision made. But as of right now, I'm just kind of like still enjoying the spring, like enjoying being able to come back and be on Howard's campus and kind of flex a little bit and say like, yeah, we did that, you know, for the first time in 31 years. There's been generations of Howard alums that I haven't seen this. So, you know, just enjoying where I'm at right now, definitely weighing all my options. And, you know, hopefully I'll make a decision within the next week or two in terms of what I'm going to do next year. So I don't know. Stay tuned.
Say less, man. I think you kind of teed the next question up perfectly, man. Because you talked about, you know, saying them being on Howard campus for the spring vibes, man. And I feel like I had a similar kind of path to you because I went to Quinnipiac for my first 4 years, transferred to Coppin for my grad year, man. And the only thing I was thinking about in my mind, I'm like, shit, I'm going to an HBCU. I'm about to get active. That's the only thing that was on my mind. And Coppin ain't lit as Howard. You know what I'm saying? I would say that. But our homecoming was lit. We had Dirk, Moneybag, and Thunder Fort Vegas for homecoming. We had some nice.
Oh, yeah, that's a good little lineup.
Great lineup. You know what I'm saying? I went to Howard homecoming. They had the baby, went to Yard Fest, all that. I was sick though, bro, because COVID year came around March. So we didn't get to have. First of all, we didn't get to finish the season. We didn't even get. We were supposed to play Norfolk too. We was gonna put them in the backwood at the scope. You know what I'm saying? But we didn't get to play them. You know what I'm saying? So you feel me? That was neither here nor there. But I was looking forward to having that HBCU spring. Like, I'm an alpha too, so I was about to be on the plot.
Oh, yeah, you was about to get after it.
Boy, I was about to get active. It was my last real, like, year in college. Oh, my God. But COVID swiped that. So, for you, obviously being at Penn and, you know what I'm saying, being at Howard, man, what's the vibes been like on campus, man, being at an HBCU, kind of having that change of pace?
Yeah, it's been great. Obviously, I'm from the city, so, you know, I have a lot of friends and family that are around anyway. But, like, being here has been like really refreshing. Like just the culture is different. The community is different. It's not as big of a school. So you feel like you know more people than you did at Penn, even though I probably knew more people at Penn just because there was more people. But like, yeah, the springtime, the summer is, I mean, not summer, the weather is nice. Like the people out on the yard, there's music everywhere. Like it's just a completely different vibe. You know, than what I experienced the last 4 or 5 years. And so I'm enjoying it, man. I actually just came from campus, you know, about an hour ago, went to go get some food and, you know, say what's up to the coaches, move around a little bit. But yeah, no, it's been dope. Like, I'm so glad that I chose to come here, not just because of, you know, the way the basketball situation turned out, but like, you know, just what I've been able to experience, over the course of this year has been like, just really cool and really refreshing. And it's something that I wasn't able to get, you know, in high school or college. So really, it's been really cool. I'm enjoying myself.
So comparative vibes, you know, HBCU versus PWI, like which vibes is better?
I gotta go with the HBCU, just because frankly, there's just more Black people. If I'm being honest, like the, you know, Penn was dope and I had my friends and all that. And, you know, obviously my teammates, I love them. But like everybody is just all like, everybody's Black, man. We all cool and like everybody's just having fun. Like it's just something special about being in that environment and like being unapologetic about who you are and like not having to deal with all of the like, you know, all the extra eyes and shit. Like just when I was at Penn, it felt like, you know, we was enjoying ourselves. We were at, you know, one of the Greek parties at Penn, like, you know, you're liable to be viewed some kind of way by the rest of the camp. Like it's just a whole there's a whole separate like double consciousness that you have to have in the PWI as a Black person. Whereas like here, everybody just feels way more like free and kind of, you're not afraid to like launch your clothing line or like, you know what I mean? Like there's just a lot of support and community and love where like I didn't really feel that to the same extent at Penn. Like obviously I had a lot of love there and people, respected me and supported us because we were on the basketball team and stuff like that. But I just felt like across the board here, like there's so much love and support among not just the community and the students, but also the staff and everybody. Like it's a whole different thing. So yeah, I got to go with the HBCUs.
100%. You know what's crazy too, because not only Penn being a PWI, but also being an Ivy League institution. So like I said, like I went to Quinnipiac, but my chapter that I crossed Alpha is at Yale. So both of my LBs went to Yale. So I spent a bunch of time on Yale's campus, like my profile stuff from Yale, like, and we've had like 3 guests from Yale on the podcast already, man. We've had this conversation a bunch of times, but just how different, number one, just being on campus at Yale is versus being on campus at a regular PWI like Quinnipiac, and how what's the word I'm looking for? Politically correct you have to be on these campuses, right? Like there's certain things you just can't say. Like,
right.
And, I told a story one time, man. I'm in my LB's dorm room. Matter of fact, I'm in my LB's girls' dorm room. So we're on like a women's floor. That's what I thought. I'm like, I gotta use the bathroom. And at Quinnipiac, we got men's floor, women's floor, men's floor, women's floor.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, damn, bro, I probably gotta go all the way upstairs to piss. Like, I ain't trying to go upstairs. She was like, what you mean? Oh, I mean, yeah, this the girls' floor, right? She's like, nah, like the bathroom's like gender neutral. You can just go to the bathroom. I'm like, wait, gender neutral? What you mean gender neutral? Like, she was like, I was like, so wait, boys and girls use the same bathroom? She was like, yeah. I was like, nah. It's crazy. So, nah, yeah. This Ivy League environment is totally different. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, the Ivy League is very free-flowing and accepting. That's the politically correct way to say it.
Hey, listen, we're going to leave it at that. If you know, you know. If you know, you know.
Yeah.
Kind of one thing I noted, man, I be sick, you know what I'm saying, watching the gram nowadays, bro, because when I came out of high school, bro, it was not cool to go to an HBCU. Like, it was not like people was not trying to go to, like, people were doing anything to go to the CAA or the NEC or the MAC or like any mid-major conference. I ain't really trying to go to the MEAC, you know what I'm saying? And now you look at Howard, bro, it got the Jordan deal. Y'all on Uninterrupted. Y'all going to all these crazy events. And like last year they did the Howard versus Morgan at All-Star Weekend. Like that got big emotion at Howard. Like big, you know what I'm saying? Man, like what's it been like playing? I'm like it's crazy because seeing now I'm beefing with Blakeney. I'm like, damn, Blakeney should have recruited me when I left Quinnipiac, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm really sick seeing, like, you know what I'm saying? It's crazy, bro. So, like, what's it been like now, man? Going to Howard now, when it's like, it's cool to go to HBCU. Y'all getting all the media coverage. Everybody's talking about Howard. Even before y'all won the tournament, it was like, there was a lot of stuff around the program, HBCUs. Obviously, you know, McCurr came there in the 5-star. So it was like a bunch of stuff going around the university, man. Like, you know, what was like just being there this year and kind of, you know, experiencing that?
Yeah, it's been dope. I mean, I feel like I was on CNN this year for our social media project. Like every like thing that we've done as a program this year, it feels like it makes big news. Like we played Morehouse on MLK Day, and literally the gym it felt like we was playing in the Rucker. Like there was people hanging off the railings, and like it was insane. So it's been really cool. It's been a really unique experience in that being at a HBCU and having that much support for a basketball program has definitely been very unique. I know it's not like that everywhere, so I'm very grateful. But I think it's a credit to, you know, our athletic administration. For so long, like Howard, you know, there's been excellence in every crevice of Howard University except the athletics department. And you know, there's, you know, obviously the alums, the Kamala Harrises, the Chadwick Bosemans, just the names are countless in terms of people that have come from the university and rep the university proudly, even before there was basketball success. And I think it's just a credit to the administration of the university, and also, you know, the athletic department. Our athletic director is amazing, Carrie Davis. and obviously Coach Blakeney, you know, with his vision for the program and stuff, like they have made a decision at Howard that they want to be good at athletics. And it just goes to show you that when you have a school with a brand like Howard, or really any HBCU where there's a real alumni base and like people behind the program who want to see success, like if you can capture that and invest into it, like it's possible. And I think that, you know, they're showing it. We saw it a little bit at Jackson State with Prime. Like they're showing that there's excellence coming in HBCUs with athletics. And so, you know, I'm just grateful to be a part of the group that kicked it off, and is like kind of opening the floodgates, because I think it's going to keep getting better, and the visibility and the product and the quality of basketball is going to keep improving. And so the challenge now is to like figure out how to bring everybody else up, because I do think that HBCUs as a whole would benefit from successful athletics and like successful programs across, you know, the entire university, but specifically athletics, because, you know, in America, that makes the most money. But yeah, the challenge is now to spread that to everybody, but it really starts with the administration and the people who are up top deciding that, you know, that's what they want to do. So, but nah, it's been really cool.
100%. Yeah, I don't know how I glazed over that, bro. I saw that post on Instagram. Kamala Harris came into our locker room, bro. That is crazy. Like, did you get to talk to her? Like, did she? I saw she get a speech to the team, and she dapped up Blakeney. Like, Blakeney got the flick looking sweet, man. Crazy, but did y'all get to talk to her at all? Or did I mean, what was that moment like, just having her in the locker room, man? Because I was big on my fan type time. I'm like, damn, bro, she in the locker room. That's crazy. Like, that's real GOAT status.
Yeah. It was you know, being honest, like on the heels of the game, I was not trying to hear it. That's just my honest opinion. That's my honest, like, that's my honest, like, and I love her. She's dope. Like, obviously, I sound ungrateful if she sees this. Like, thank you so much for coming to speak to us. Like, we will see you soon. I think we're going to the White House for a White House tour. We will see you soon. I'm extremely grateful for you being at the game and bringing more visibility to the program. As a competitor, it was like, we just lost by 30. I'm trying to go change and like go see my parents. But no, it was cool. And it's like just another testament to, you know, the reality that at Howard, like being, you know, the premier HBCU in the country and like one of the most visible and like the one with, you know, some of the most famous alums, like the fact that she wanted to talk to us and the fact that she was able to tell us, you know, that she's been hearing about us from Bison alums everywhere, and how everybody is talking about this team and what we were able to accomplish this year was like, you know, despite how we were feeling after the game, that was a truly like special moment to say like, damn, like this is the Vice President of the United States, like in here giving us our props for what we were able to do with basketball. And even, you know, some of the stuff we were doing off the court, she brought that up as well. But yeah, that was really cool. Although I was not happy at the moment, that was really cool for her to be there and support us. So shout out to her.
So obviously, man, you know, that wasn't your first time, you know, with the White House type of vibe, man. You know, you went to Sidwell Friends in high school, and you were able to kind of share the hallways with the Obamas, you know, Malia and Sasha. And I feel like, I don't know why, but it didn't register in my brain that like y'all went to school there at the same time. I feel like I knew that they went to Sidwell, but I didn't know that like y'all were there at the same time. But for you, like, did you guys ever have any class together? Do you have any interactions with them, like kind of in passing? And then just what was that like having the president's kids at school? I feel like, you know, that's not something that everybody gets to do, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that was a cool experience. They're really cool. I'm friends with both of them. Malia was a year older than me, and Sasha is 2 years younger than me. And she's actually she was in my little brother's grade, who also went to Sidwell with me. So yeah, we're like, not to like flex on them, but we're kind of like family friends. Like I've been to, you know, their cookouts and stuff. Like I've you know, we're pretty cool with them. It was dope. I mean, it's weird that like, you know, I get this question a lot. To me, they're just like regular people. And I think part of that is like Sidwell, one, it's like a really small school. Like my graduating class was like 120 people. And so it's a really like close environment anyway, where like you just kind of feel like you know everybody. And like, I don't know, we kind of were just in like the same friend groups, and like, you know, we hung out in the summers. Like I go to Martha's Vineyard every summer. They also go to Martha's Vineyard every summer. So like we're able to hang out sort of outside of school too. But yeah, no, it's like, it's weird when I get this question, because everybody's like, that's so cool. And like, you know, like, I can't believe you're able to do that. And da, da, da. And then everybody kind of gets like let down, because I'm kind of like, they're just like normal people. But like, yeah, I mean, that's like the best way. Yeah, that's like the best way to describe it, is like, they're just like, they're really cool people. They're like down to earth. Like, it's a credit to them, and like the way that they were raised, obviously being in the national spotlight, you know, Sasha since middle school, elementary school, and same with Malia. Like, they're actually really cool, like down to earth. They don't bring up the fact that, you know, they are who they are. They don't, you know, flaunt like money and stuff. They drive regular cars. Like, they're, you know, their parents do a good job of like keeping them grounded and stuff. And so, yeah, they're cool. That's just, you know, part of the, I guess the perks of going to a school like Sidwell is you get to be around, you know, people like that.
Yeah, and I was gonna say too, I feel like, do you think they were able to kind of like being at Sidwell, the people like bothering them and stuff were like, oh shit, like, or the people kind of treat them normally? How do you think their kind of high school experience was? Because I feel like for them, obviously they can't really go anywhere without people knowing who they are. You know what I'm saying? But on the other hand, Sidwell is a school that is very prestigious. There's a lot of people there who have money and things like that.
Right.
You know, so I feel like being at a school like that, it's a chance that maybe people kind of like, all right, you know, it is what it is. My father's the CEO of so and so and so and so, whatever. Anyways, you know what I'm saying? So like, how was it? What was the vibe like around school? Do people kind of treat them differently, or do you think they kind of fit in kind of normally?
Yeah, I mean, so I wasn't there when they first got there. I can imagine when they first got there, that was probably like, you know, oh my God, like, this is Barack Obama's kids. Like, he's just about to be the first Black president coming out of nowhere. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm sure people were a little bit more starstruck by that point. By the time I got there, they had been there for like 5-6 years at least. And like, it was normal. Like, they were, you know, like you said, at Sidwell, like, you know, all the Democratic politicians' kids go there. Like, so it wasn't just the Obamas, like some of the Bidens were there. Like, you know, you got kids whose parents are, you know, the right-hand man to the Obama campaign type thing. Like, you got kids whose, you know, parents are the CEOs of Fortune 500 companies, are, you know, the head of like Sonos, and like, you know, just these major companies that you wouldn't even think you would know people that are involved with. So like, everybody there, aside from like really the athletes and the other people that they bring in, are, you know, everybody is like some sort of high profile, like family or like something like that. So it kind of works. Like, everybody is just cool. Like, it's like a normal, it's like the safe space for everybody, if that makes sense.
100%.
Yeah.
So kind of a play on the show, man. Obviously the podcast called What's in Your Bag. So we this is kind of a new segment, man. You're the first guest that we're doing this new segment with. You know what I'm saying? I think it's gonna be dope going forward though, man. So it's called What's in Your Bag. And my question to you is, you know, you preparing for a game, right? What's going in the bag? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what you throwing in there? Or you can answer it that way, or they say you're going for a night out. You know what I'm saying? You throwing the, you know, say y'all got money over Howard, so you throwing the Louis crossbody on. Like, what you throwing in your bag for a night out? You know what I'm saying? You could choose whichever one, or you want to give us both. You know what I'm saying? You could.
Okay. Okay. I'll give you a little bit of both. The first question, in terms of what's going in my bag, like to prep for a game, like basketball wise, or like what I'm wearing?
Basketball wise, we'll go basketball.
Okay.
Wise.
Well, the first thing is that I believe my left to right cross is unguardable. I believe that if I can get, especially a bigger dude on an island, I can set up that left to right cross pretty much every time to get downhill and make a play. So I go to that a lot. And then the floater. I've like, over the course of my years of not being able to play and like losing athleticism from the knee injuries and stuff, like, I've had to develop like a touch around the rim. So different floaters, different ways of finishing. If you watch like some of the championship game, like some of the finishes I had, like driving down the left side of the lane, even though I'm right-handed, throwing up a left-handed teardrop that didn't even touch the backboard over, two bigs coming over from the help side to try and block it. Like that's just stuff that I work on, like different ways to get downhill and like figure out how to, use my touch to my ability. I think that's some of the biggest parts of my game in terms of scoring. And then, let's see, if I'm going out, I got to give a shout out to one of the brands that I'm partnered with. I'm wearing the hoodie right now, actually. Minimal, MNML.LA on Instagram. They got a lot of cool pieces. I'm in business with them. That was one of the NIL deals I signed this year. So I'm probably wearing some minimal gear, nice hoodie, some jeans, and then, the pair of J's, depending on how my feet are feeling that night. Yeah, that's probably what I'm rocking.
Good plug to the brand right there. I fuck with minimal too, though. I like how you do they got like the kind of the good like monochromatic look. It's kind of your guy stuff. So I fuck with them.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like your bag is lacking. You don't got no charger in the bag. You don't got no lip chapstick or nothing. Your phone.
So I'm saying like I thought you was talking about like what's in your bag, like in your game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What you throwing? You got the cross body, or you going to Telfeezy? You got the men's Telfeezy. What you throwing in there?
The men's Telfeezy. All right, I got. First of all, I got some cash.
Okay.
You never know. Got some cash. I got. I do got this. I actually keep it all right here on my nightstand. Got the Burt's Bees, the chapstick. Okay. I got this smell good, like fragrance oil that I keep on me. It's called Sweet Smell of Success.
Okay.
So I got to make sure I put that on every time I go out. And then the rest of it is just like, the normal Max, lotion, some deodorant, just the normal, the normal stuff. Put a little wave cream in the hair.
Okay.
Gotta keep my brush on me in case like, I gotta take the hoodie off and the waves come up or something like that. I gotta keep the brush on me. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay. Respect, man. Last question, man. Before I get to the finisher. You said you listen to gospel music. You talking about in the beginning. You like taught your with some gospel music. I'm big into gospel music, man. I love listening to Tribal, Mav City, Elevation Worship. So what are kind of some of your favorite songs you got on the playlist? Favorite artists that you listen to when it comes to gospel?
Yeah, I think the reason that I play gospel music before games is because it kind of grounds me in my journey. Not just for the content of the songs, but when I was young, my mom used to, and my dad too for a period of time, but my mom especially, when we would drive into school in the morning, she would play gospel. And so, I, developed a little playlist of like just some of those songs from when I was young. So, you got like the Kirk Franklins, the Ty Tribbetts, Mary Mary, just different artists like that who I can like kind of resonate with from like, I remember when I was 3-4 years old, stopping at the Starbucks at 6:30 in the morning on my way to school, listening to, whatever song was playing, whatever my mom had on the radio. So that's I would say those are like probably the top 3 that I go to, and then I kind of just let Apple Music shuffle through for me and pick whatever. But yeah, those are probably the ones.
For sure. That's dope, man. That's dope. I think I love to listen to gospel music before the game as well, man, because I feel like sometimes just, I don't know, I'll be feeling just inspired and focused, and like it calms me down, I feel like. So and always start the day, man. I saw this on Instagram one day, it was like, yo, no rap before noon. So in the mornings, I'm always starting off with either gospel or R&B. I can't listen to no trap music or rap or dirt or rave or nothing to the afternoon comes. I can't wake up in the morning on straight violence type of.
Yeah. That's a good rule. That's a good rule of thumb.
Teachers know, man. But I feel like last year, man, I've gotten heavy in the gospel music, man. So if you need some recommendations, man, let me know, man. I got a bunch of bangers that you might like. You know what I'm saying? If you like gospel.
Definitely. No, I like that. No rap before noon. I might have to take that one from
you. Yeah. Hey, listen, I'm telling you, it's great vibes. You start the day off on positive energy.
Yeah. Great. We don't got to think about all that stuff this early in the morning. I respect that.
For sure. Listen, try it out, man. Let me know how it goes for you, man.
Yeah.
Now this has been great, man. This has been a great conversation, great perspective, man. I think a lot of people will be able to learn from this. learn from your journey, feel inspired by your journey. Obviously, like you said, man. Last question we got, man. We asked this to all our guests. Shout out to All the Smoke. Stole this from them, man. Who is one person we gotta have on the show, and whoever you say, you gotta help us get them on. You say PG, so you got to get in your PG bag. You know what I'm saying? Get us a little assist. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Let me think. I'm trying to think who has a good story. You gotta get my guy AT on here, Aaron Thompson. He grew up, he's overseas right now playing. But he's got a dope story coming up in PG, doing the private school thing, doing the public school thing, and then playing at PVI, being on some of the best teams, that this area has seen at PVI. And then obviously going to Butler, being on both sides of college basketball where, he was top 5 in the country at one time. And then his last year they didn't perform to where they were capable of. So I think he'd be a good person to kind of talk to. He has a lot of insight on just life in general. He's, mature in that way. And he's also my guy. So that would be an easy person to kind of, get to come over and do it with you guys. So yeah, I would say AT.
So, hey, you know what's funny? Quick story, man. It's crazy you call him AT because his older brother
is also AT.
Yeah, we call him AT, bro. And he worked at Quinnipiac. He was like our he's a GA. So I don't know if you know Bradley Jacks. He was like a GA before Bradley. So, and then Bradley ended up getting on staff and coaching, but AT was a GA on staff when I was there, bro. So he used to work us out, drive us around. He was like, AT, that's crazy, man. Small world.
Yeah, man, small. That's the DMV basketball scene is like everybody knows everybody.
Facts, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, we can definitely get that going for sure, man. I'd love to have Lil AT on the podcast. But nah, man, this has been great. I definitely want to just again say, man, just hats off to you, man, because obviously, coming from where you came from with the injuries and being able to just rehab and get back, man, and get to where you are today, MEAC champ. You know what I'm saying? Like, can't nobody ever take that away from you. And I think that there's a lot to be said about that, man. So I definitely just want to shout out to you, man, for just being a positive example, fighting through adversity, doing what a lot of people can't and wouldn't do. You know what I'm saying? So I think you're inspiration to a lot of people, man. I just want to say thank you to you, man, for coming on, making time. I know you're a busy man these days, you know what I'm saying? Definitely shout out to you, man, for coming on. This has been a great conversation, man. So I definitely want to just, like I said, give you your flowers, man, and say how much of a pleasure it's been to have you on, for sure.
Yeah, most definitely. Appreciate that. Definitely keep doing what you're doing, man. This was a dope conversation. You get a, opportunity to dive into every part of people's story. So, this was great. Appreciate it. I'm sure I'll see you around this summer at some point. So
back at the Mecca, man. Like I said, I'm going to have to run down on some gear, too. Tell Ty, Blakely, all of them, I'm coming through. You know what I'm saying? They got to have some type of T-shirt, something for your boys. Yeah. I need that.
Yeah, they got you. We won now, so everything coming in. We good.
Yeah, say no more. I'm on it. Man. All right, guys, this has been another episode of the What's in Your Bag podcast presented by Bet Online. As always, remember to like this podcast, give us a 5-star rating, subscribe. If you're still listening to this podcast, man, go ahead and just hit that subscribe button. You know what I'm saying? This has been a great conversation. We got many more coming on the way. This is going to be my guy, Pull Up Tay, on the outro. Till next time, folks.
Suave. I've been in my bag for a while, I'm invincible. Story of a young boss, grinding shit get critical. Calling on my bros one time, cause you special. I had some hoop dreams of right rounds for my mentor. Every target that I shoot is on point like a pencil. Different route, change relationships, I'm so sorry. Came up from the trenches.